Hello everyone, welcome back. We're here to talk about the last 2 seasons of Bojack.
Yeah, we've got to talk about them. Also, we just had breakfast, so excuse us for if we're like kind of like just.
Yeah, we gotta stop eating out. We gotta stop eating out. It's really taken over us.
Yeah, but it's kind of hard to with this fucking quarantine. Anyway, season 5. Let me pull up our little notey notes we got here. Season 5 has a lot to it.
We took a lot of clip notes, so like, we got so much stuff to talk about. I guess, what did you think about season 5?
It was interesting. I still think season 4 is probably my favorite of the seasons. But season 5 was pretty good, like for a couple different aspects.
I thought season 5 was like
very gritty.
Yeah, that's the word to describe it.
Very gritty. Compared to like the last couple seasons,
a lot of gray.
There's a lot of gray in this season, mainly because of like a couple different things. So, excuse me. Secretary is pretty much done. So, basically Bojack's working on another series called Filbert. And this was because of something that
Princess Carolyn accidentally put his name on it.
Yeah. So basically, just to give you a little context about the Filbert Show. So Princess Carolyn was trying to come up with a show with this other guy, and he didn't have like a name for it. So she wanted to name this thing Filbert because her and I think his name was Ralph, right?
Well, it was already named Filbert. And the guy came to him with the script and he was saying, like, this is the name. And that reminded her of the kid that she was going to have.
Yeah, because she was going to have a kid with, spoilers, she was going to have a kid, but she ended up miscarriaging. For those who didn't, like, see the first couple parts, which you guys should go check out. We have, like, 2 other parts of, like, the last 4 seasons. Mm-hmm. So, her and Ralph are broken up in this part, right?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, so, also, like, her and Ralph broke up. Was it during last season or this season?
It was last season.
Last season, they ended up breaking up. And all that. So, they're no longer together, kind of thing. This was also, like, the part of the series where Todd ends up getting together with the lady named Yolanda. Was she the ocelot?
Yeah, she was the ocelot.
Okay, so that's kind of a minor plot, but we'll get back to that in a minute. So the Filbert Show basically is like this nitty-gritty, like, cop show. It kind of has a little bit of resemblance to Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a little bit.
No, it does not have any resemblance to Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Don't you tell that dirty one.
I'm sorry.
It has no resemblance to Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It more has a resemblance to, like, NCIS or something like that.
Okay,
but
it's
like HBO's version of NCIS. It's like really over dramatized because this producer is like he's very up his own ass about his own artistic integrity, and he just wants everything to be serious and dark and everything like that. And it's like the more and more resembles Bojack's life, the more it like fucks with Bojack. And when Diane goes on, like when Diane starts to write for the show, that's when it makes like Bojack's life more like a living hell.
Yeah, because so basically, what he starts the show, his friend Diane, who divorces Mr. Peanut Butter at this point. They're pretty much divorced. And she's living in an apartment by herself. So she ends up getting brought onto the Filbert Show so that way they could write a better script. Because apparently the guy that made the original Filbert script didn't know what the fuck he was doing.
Well, they wanted to appeal to more of the woman audience and like, hey, you can't discriminate. We have a woman writing on the show. Yeah. So that was pretty much what it was, like, why she was brought on.
So yeah, she was really good at that kind of aspect. Other stuff that really happens, we do have Bojack getting into some kind of relationship with a girl named Gina in the series. So she's a human.
She's the co-star.
She's actually the co-star in the Filbert Show. Mm-hmm. Those two end up having some kind of relationship, like, on the show, but not as, like, crazy as the show. Or do you think it's crazier than the show?
Well, Bojack plays a detective, and she plays, like, his partner, and that just kind of correlates with them in real life, because they're, like, you know, they're sleeping together and they have, like, a type of relationship. It's just that Bojack finds it really hard to, like, not, like,
be a dick.
Well, yeah, that. But I mean, like, it finds it hard to have a relationship with women in general. Like, he didn't have a good mother growing up, and like his perception on females were just
kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of led him to being like the way he is. Now that you learn like the backstory of like the mom and the dad, how they raised Bojack. Bojack's kind of like a shit just because his parents were shit. So it kind of like made him turn into shit.
Yeah.
In a way. So along with that, we also have, we haven't really talked about Todd too much.
Todd doesn't really have much going on. I think the only thing that he really did have going on was he was just trying to get away
from Bojack.
Yeah, he was trying to get away from Bojack, and in return he became the head of the company that puts Filbert on air.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, it was the company that he put. It was the company that helped him put Filbert on air.
Yeah, he somehow became the head of that.
Since we don't talk about Todd too much, I feel like we should at least talk about Todd in this part of the podcast, just because we barely talked about him at all. So basically, Todd is, for those who don't know, he's
random.
He's a random character that's Bojack's roommate at first for the first like couple seasons, and then he ends up moving out. Mm-hmm. And something that I actually really like about Todd is that he's an asexual character. I actually found out he was asexual, and I'm like, thank you for some asexual representation, because we don't get enough of that in today's media. So I'm actually really happy we have an asexual character.
Yeah.
Because I'm demisexual, so I'm on the asexual spectrum. But it made me really happy to find a character who wasn't in Steven Universe for once, that was like an asexual character. And I thought that was amazing. And that's one of the things I like about Todd, like, at first. And I also like just his character. He's like one of those characters that there's a lot of wacky adventures. So he's kind of like the comic relief for Bojack. And, excuse me again. Mm-hmm. He kind of ends up doing a lot of these misadventures, which a lot of them don't really go with the plot. So that's kind of why we really have.
They're the B story, pretty much.
Yeah, they're the B story. He's the B story plots for the show. So we don't really talk about him much because he doesn't really have anything to do with the plot, sadly.
He doesn't really do anything with the plot. He just has levitation toward the humor.
Yeah.
He's pretty much like, you know, the laid back couch pot potato.
Couch pot potato.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's just like, you know, just weird. He's probably the most likable character in the show besides Mr. Peanut Butter.
Yeah, him and Mr. Peanut Butter get along very well.
Because oddly enough, there's not that much array of likable characters in the show.
There really isn't.
So it's just like, you know, it's nice to have that type of levity.
So yeah. Anyway, this season kind of has him doing a little bit more than the other seasons. This one, he actually does get a girlfriend. Her name is Yolanda. Mm-hmm. She's an ocelot that ends up helping him originally with a business he had. So after that whole thing happened, she kind of wanted to talk to him. We also found that she's also asexual. So this was interesting. 2 asexual characters in one show, which I thought was nice.
And then the reason why they broke up was because they had nothing in common besides the fact that they were
asexual. So sadly they broke up, which I can see why. Also, I won't go too deep into the episode where they broke up just because it's a lot. It's a lot.
Well, it was more played for laughs than anything.
I know, but it's just like, to me, it made me feel awkward. The episode made me feel...
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be awkward. You're supposed to find out that her family is, like, you know...
very fucking sexual.
Yeah, very fucking sexual, because that's their jobs. Like,
I know, but at the same time...
But it's like, it's supposed to be awkward. Especially for an asexual to hang around with people like that. Like, you know.
Yeah. Still, to me, I was just more like, why is this a fucking thing?
I don't know. That's just the way that, like, I guess Bojack, like, wants to play out its humor. Either, like, you know, it's something like, you know, where the character is just like, either it's very random, or it's like the character, like, expects something and then it's completely different. And they have to deal with the awkward situation of that. Or, again, it's just dark humor or celebrity degradation.
Yeah. Okay, so after this whole thing, like, we'll move on to another part of, like, season 5 that was a little bit more prevalent. So, as we mentioned before, Mr. Peanut Butter and Diane basically got divorced. So, a lot of shit really happened, like, that I didn't really notice until, like, later in the seasons. Like, at first... What?
Nothing.
But after they end up divorcing, Diane's still trying to kind of recover from everything.
Yeah.
So the first episode where you actually see her trying to recover, she ends up going to a party that...
Well, she goes to Vietnam.
She goes to Vietnam first to try and find herself. That doesn't end up fucking working.
I mean, if I tried to go to my... If I tried to go to my place of origin, oh god.
Cause is she just Vietnamese?
She is half Vietnamese.
Okay, so she ends up going to Vietnam for a bit to try and find herself, and she kind of gets into a romance with just one random guy. It doesn't turn out to be anything. And then she ends up leaving, and then when she comes back, she ends up trying to, like, see what was going on, I guess.
She was just trying to, I guess, like, still be on friendly terms with her ex.
Yeah. So. Which is not a bad thing. I'm just going to say this. It's not a bad thing, but at the same time, it's like, it's going to be awkward.
Well, and a good thing in the whole show, if I could just say this, she does remain on friendly terms with her ex.
That's true. Like, this is probably one of the only shows I've seen where... the two people, even after they broke up, they're still on friendly terms.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of examples.
But that's probably the only one I can think of.
Yeah.
Because, to me, like, most people these days, whenever they deal with their ex, they really don't want to fucking deal with them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, most people don't want to deal with them.
Depends on how the relationship even ended.
That's true.
Yeah.
Still, like, that whole thing happened where... Diane was still trying to, like, get over everything. Mm-hmm. She was still trying to recover from everything. She ends up going to Mr. Peanut Butter's house party. And she finds out that Mr. Peanut Butter already has another girlfriend.
Yeah.
So, before Diane...
Also, that ending of the episode, like, where she, like, you know, goes to Mr. Peanut Butter's house and she sees... That monologue that she has... like, broke my fucking heart. Yeah. It really broke my heart. It's like, oh god. And I think that's the first time ever that I felt sympathy for Diane.
Yeah, because, like, she's not a bad character. It's just, like, you know, she
bitches about a lot of things.
Yeah, she's just been through
and I'm
a
not
lot.
saying that she's, like, you know, rightfully, like, you know, doesn't deserve the bitching. I'm just saying, like, you know, she does it so many times, it kind of gets repetitive at some points because it's like... She writes for a SJW, like, blogging website.
Yeah.
So it's, like, one of those things to where she constantly has to be, like, you know, like, on the job of fighting for some type of freedom, virtual freedom that, like, you know, people forget about because it's, like, you know, in the world that Bojack Horseman resides in, it's very misogynistic.
Yeah.
Very misogynistic.
And excuse me again. Okay, so we get to find out that Mr. Peanut Butter is actually in another relationship. But before... Okay, so here's a little bit of context about Mr. Peanut Butter. Before he even got with Diane, he had 2 other ex-wives. He had 2 ex-wives before even meeting Diane. Mm-hmm. I think one of her names... Well, what was one of their names?
The first... I think he was married to Jessica Biel.
I thought it was like... I thought there was another person before Jessica.
The one who was trying to make him governor.
Yeah, okay, so there was a person...
So he was married to Jessica Biel. He was married to the woman who was trying to make him governor.
Yeah, both at different times. Else. Like, the governor one was first, then he divorced her, and then got with Jessica something.
Jessica Biel. You don't know who Jessica Biel. You don't know who Jessica Biel is?
No.
Sometimes they get actual celebrities to voice themselves, and it's like...
It still baffles me that they do this, because half the time
But it's funny, though. That's the problem. That's funny.
Yeah. So basically, he has 2 ex-wives.
I'm and then famous actress Jessica Biel.
Yeah, and then he also got... And then after that, that's when he gets with Diane. I think he met Diane when he was still married to these other people.
No.
Wait, wasn't that what... What about the coffee shop?
Well, that was just because she was working there. It's not like she like met him and like he had.
But that's the first time they met each other.
Yeah, that's the first time.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like that's the first time they met each other.
Well, but that's when he was married to Jessica Biel. Still. Yeah. So it I don't know. Like, you know, it shows you a timeline and stuff like that. Apparently, they started dating like in 2007. At least, like, you know, what I remember from the Halloween episode.
Yeah, because that's the funny thing. Like, I thought they were only dating for, like, a year or something like that. They were dating for longer. And I'm just like, what the fuck? So...
I'm assuming Bojack didn't know because he doesn't really care about Mr. Peanut Butter's well-being or anything.
He does not like Mr. Peanut Butter. He really
He has a vendetta against Mr. Peanut Butter. A lot of vendetta against Mr. Peanut Butter. He just finds him really annoying.
Yeah. Okay, so besides that...
So let's talk about Pickles.
I fucking love her. She's so amazing.
I knew you would like Pickles.
I actually like Pickles. Like, she's kind of funny. She's the kind of character I like. And then, okay, so here's the thing with, Pickles. Like, she's a waitress at a restaurant that Bojack happened to bought out. Mm-hmm. And then Mr. Peanut Butter bought out. Everyone keeps buying out this one fucking restaurant in the series, and it's like, why do you guys do this?
I don't know. They try to change it to other things and stuff like that, but...
So,
she's like a waitress, and then she's like she's like a...
Vlogger.
Well, she's a kind of a vlogger /
YouTuber. She's like a YouTuber,
No, she's more of an Instagram personnel.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting from that.
So, and a lot of, like, Mr. Peanut Butter's wives are, like, younger than him. I don't know how technically old he is.
He's like in his 40s.
Okay, so is he younger than Bojack?
Is he younger than Bojack?
Or is he around the same age?
He's probably a little bit younger, but around the same age.
Okay, but that's the funny thing. Like,
he keeps on dating these younger women because he has the mind of a dog. Like, literally, like, animal physics do apply to the animal... to the animal anthropomorphic characters.
So yeah, he acts like a dog.
So, you know, since dogs never grow up past their teenage years and always just are very hyper and playful and stuff like that, he ends up remaining very hyper and playful throughout his life. And that's why his wives probably divorced him eventually, because he wasn't like
changing.
He wasn't changing at all. He wasn't growing up.
He was acting like he was a kid again.
Yeah.
Anyway, so him and Pickles are together. And I actually like... Okay, compared to all the other characters that Mr. Peanut Butter has been with, I actually think him and Pickles are probably the best one of the two. Like, I feel like...
Maybe, but I think it would have been, like, the exact same thing to happen. And he would have just kept on, like...
Yeah. But, anyway. Pickles was a good character. I actually liked her quite a bit. She doesn't really get too much screen time compared to everybody else. Mm-hmm. So she's just kind of like somebody that is a background character. Sadly, I kind of wish she was in there a little bit more. Or at least enough to where she was like friends with some of the other characters. I wish she was friends with some of the other characters, so that would have been a little bit better for me. Mm. But that's just personally me. At least one of them. Like, at least one of them. I don't care if she's like friends with all of them, but at least one of them. You know what I mean? Okay, maybe that's just me.
I don't know. Like, I thought it was just enough of Pickles.
Yeah. Okay, we have a couple more things to talk about for season 5. So, okay, so can you explain the Amelia Earhart story? Because this one I don't remember.
When she was trying to get when Princess Cadis was trying to adopt a child, pretty much, and then it kept on flashing back to her, like, her life.
Yeah. Okay, so basically the Amelia Earhart story is just going off of Princess Carolyn's, like, backstory a bit. So, the best way we can describe it, because there was a lot of flashbacks, I feel like, for this season. This season was kind of like flashback central, in a way. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, but I'm assuming, like, any time it, like, wants to dive into the main character's backstory, we just get it in, like, a full episode. Like, more than anything. Like, when it starts, like, with a flashback, it's gonna be, like, mostly the majority of the episode. And this one, we got to dive into Princess Carolyn's backstory of how, like, she was raised and stuff like that. Like, she was, like, she always wanted to be a strong, independent woman, and that's what she grew up to be. And now she looks back on her life thinking, like, I wanted to be more. I wanted to be more of this. I wanted to be more of that. And, like, now that she's looking for a child to, like, take care of and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, like, I like also the fact that, like, she's a businesswoman and stuff like that, but, like, she still wants to have a kid.
Yeah.
She wants to have a kid.
How old is she in this series?
She's like 40.
So she's like younger than... Is she younger than like Princess... Not Princess. Mr. Peanut Butter? She's older. She's older than Peanut Butter?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Peanut Butter's like the youngest of the three of them.
That's why people don't want to give her a kid, because she's older. She's like, she's not in her young... She's not young. That's why people don't like, That's why, like, people mock her about having a kid or starting a family or stuff like that, because she's, like, older.
And I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, just because someone's older doesn't mean they don't want to have a family. Like, some people can't.
Well, that's just sometimes what happens. So she tries to get a surrogate parent down, I don't know, where in the South.
Like, she basically tries to get a surrogate because at this point she can't have a baby herself because of the miscarriages, and she doesn't want to go through that again. So she's like, I'm going to have to get a surrogate or adopt a kid. So she finds this one lady, I think, was it in her hometown?
Yeah, it was in her hometown.
It was in her hometown. They talked for a while. Did they have a falling out, technically?
They pretty much what it was like, like, they talked about it, and they're like, I don't remember. No. She ends up, I think she ends up getting the kid.
Yeah, but not for, like, a while, though.
Yeah, I think she ends up getting the kid.
Okay, spoiler, she eventually does end up getting the kid.
Because I remember it was because I remember that was like a porcupine.
Yeah, it was
the father was a porcupine. So.
Yeah, the porcupine. It ends up being a porcupine kid. So, but she doesn't get this kid right away. I don't think she gets it till like the last season, does she?
She doesn't get it until like the ending.
She doesn't technically get the kid till like the ending of like the show.
No. The ending of the 5th season.
Oh, the ending of the 5th season. Never mind. 5th season.
I keep on reminding you about things that happened.
It's been ages. Okay, it's been like months since we last saw it. So I'm trying to remember a lot of it. Mm-hmm. So that was basically that. Okay, the free churro one. This one, okay. We got a lot to talk about with the free churro episode.
It's not really much. It's just pretty much Bojack talking shit at his mother's funeral.
Yeah, because, spoiler alert, his mom dies. His mom dies in season 5. So he has no parents now. When did his dad die, technically?
His dad died in a duel.
I know, but when was that? Was that in his childhood?
It was like when Diane first talked to him, which I think was back in...
Season 1?
No. It was, because he got the call at the Halloween party that his dad died.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, so he ends up finding out his dad died, and then now his mom's gone. So the free churro episode is basically him just, like, bullshitting about his mom. And because his mom really didn't raise him that well, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, his mom treated him and like shit.
Yeah, and it just pretty much turns into a monologue about himself because he doesn't really care about his mom. It's pretty much 30 minutes of Bojack doing a monologue while the camera stays completely still at him. And you might be put off at first because you're going to probably think, wait, this is the full episode.
Yeah, but
what he has to say is like...
He says a lot in this episode that's like really deep. He says a lot of deep shit in this episode.
Well, he says a lot of deep shit, but I don't know if he actually means it because he's just... That's just the type of character that he is. Like, he likes to talk about himself a lot.
Yeah, so after that whole episode... I feel like this is the pivotal episode that kind of makes him go into, like, a downward spiral.
He broke his back on the set of Filbert, and that's what got him addicted to painkillers.
So, yeah, next thing that we're going to talk about, which is a really heavy topic. Bojack gets addicted to painkillers through the last part of season 5. Mm-hmm. And it really affects how kind of the rest of the season goes. Mm-hmm. Because... I think Hollyhock is still living with him, right?
No, she's off to college.
Okay, so Hollyhock ends up going off to college. And basically, she does get to visit him, I know, like one part during season 5. Mm-hmm. She does visit him on, was it her break from college?
I think so.
So she ends up visiting Bojack during her break, and then she finds out he's addicted to painkillers. But then she realizes somehow between what happened at the end of season 4 to now that she finds out why... so she apparently overdosed in season 4. But it wasn't herself that did it. Apparently, and this is a spoiler. Like, this is a major spoiler, I feel like. But Bojack's mom ended up putting some kind of, like, weight loss pills or something... I think it was a weight loss pill, right?
I don't remember what type.
It was some kind of pill that made Hollyhock, like, notice a change. I don't remember what kind of pill it was, but she ended up overdosing on a pill because the mom kept putting it in her food. Uh-huh. And because of that, Hollyhock is now, like, has a phobia of just pills in general because she doesn't want to go through that shit again because she was apparently in the hospital for it. Mm-hmm. So... She finds out the reason why she ended up overdosing was because of the mom before she died. Mm-hmm. And it was something that apparently her mom did. Did her mom do that to her? Like Bojack's mom? Did Bojack's grandma do that to Bojack's mom?
I don't think so. I don't think I don't know. Like, I don't think that ever happened.
I don't remember.
I think that never happened in the show.
Okay, maybe it was something else I was thinking of. I'm trying to remember because it's been a while.
I know, and it's really painful to see you do this.
I'm trying to make it as accurate as I can. It's just some of the shit I remember some shit more than you do.
I don't think that ever happened in the show.
I'm gonna have to.
I think you're making stuff up.
I'm not trying to.
I get it. Okay, so pretty much what happened is that just Bojack just gets high off painkillers. And and his life just starts to become a blur at that point. He doesn't know what's real anymore. He doesn't, the relationships he has just go south really quickly. He rushes into things because of the because of the New Mexico secret that he wants nobody to find out about, and somehow it gets like entangled in Filbert, and that just sends him so far up the edge to basically where he pretty much just chokes out a bitch.
Yeah, he ends up... Okay, so another major spoiler. Because of all the stuff that Filbert was doing in the last, couple parts of season 5, to where I think Diane heard about the whole thing, because I think Bojack told her later on, but she found out from somebody else earlier about it.
She found out, kind of. She didn't get any details.
Yeah.
She just found out that he did something.
He did something in New Mexico, and then Bojack ends up telling her a bit about what happened. And then after that whole thing, she ends up writing it into, a little bit of it into Filbert, which, to me, I feel like that was kind of a dick move.
I honestly do not know. She just got it because the agent from
season 3.
Season 3 had a recording of him confessing about this.
But it wasn't from her, though. It was from another person. It was from a person he slept with that happened to work for her.
Sorry. Yeah, but I don't know. Diane was under the notion that he could probably change for better, and she just gave up on that, and she just pretty much gave up on that. And I don't know. You can look at it either way. I just think that
he couldn't be redeemed at this point. I feel like this is the point where he cannot be redeemed anymore.
Well, he couldn't be redeemed anymore because this was pretty much his lowest point that he ever did.
Yeah.
Besides when we get to the last couple episodes of the actual series. But
yeah, but this is probably the craziest it's been.
This so far was the lowest point for Bojack at this point.
Yeah.
Not including season 6. But
this is the lowest point in pretty much the 5th season.
Yeah.
Because there's no way he could be redeemed after this.
There's no way that he could be redeemed after I guess he choked Sagina.
So yeah, he ended up choking his co-star.
He choked his co-star because he was on a delusional high.
Yeah, and then it ends up making her freak out. And she doesn't want anything to do with him anymore after this. Mm-hmm. Literally, she tells...
She doesn't want to get that much publicity on it. Because she wants to fake that it was, an actual real thing that happened to her. Because
she didn't want people to just be like, oh, this is the person that Bojack choked.
Yeah, she didn't want to be known for that.
She wanted to be known for something else. So she...
So what you think about that, by the way?
I thought it was very... I felt like shit after that. I felt like shit after seeing that episode. I was just like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. I was... that thing messed me up for 2 days. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, why the fuck? I couldn't understand it at all. I was just more I was dumbfounded that this actually even happened in the series. Mm-hmm. But then I realized, oh shit, this is probably going to get even worse. Yeah. So, that's pretty much almost the end of season 5. So, wait, that is the end of season 5. So basically at the end of it is just Bojack.
So Bojack, after all that, stuff happened, he finally decides that he goes to rehab.
Yeah, he finally decided...
Because Filbert got canceled because...
of this.
Well, mainly because Todd hired a sex robot and a lot of people sued the company.
Yeah. So Filbert got canceled because of Todd's shenanigans.
Yes, Filbert got canceled because Todd was not a good boss or whatever. And Bojack goes to rehab, and Diane is the one to drop him off as a last resort.
Yeah, because at this point everyone's just done.
Diane doesn't want to be associated with Bojack anymore after he steps into the doors of rehab. she never gets associated with Bojack anymore.
Yeah.
Like, she, like, you know, talks to him and stuff like that, but
she doesn't want to be a part of anything.
She don't want to be a part of anything that he's doing anymore.
So, yeah, after that, the last episode of the series for season 5, he basically goes to rehab. Mm-hmm. And Diane was the one that drops him off, and then we really don't get to see Bojack and her interact anymore pretty much after that. Right?
I mean, they talk, but that's about it.
Like, they just talk, but they don't really, like, have, like, a friendship anymore, really. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's pretty much the end of season 5. So, okay, we are now at the final season of Bojack, season 6. Strap up, like, those seatbelts and get ready, because this is going to be a crazy season.
Season 6 is probably, like, I don't know. What do I put it? There's a lot of, like, good, like, the only one that I can say is legit not good is season 1, but that's about it. Like, I really, really love, like, the rest of the seasons of Bojack. So it's really hard for me to pick which seasons are the best of them.
I still think 4 is my favorite.
Which is your second favorite, then?
I don't know. Like, I kind of like bits and pieces from the other seasons, but season 4 as a whole is my favorite season, but I kind of like halves of the seasons. It's weird.
Do you like season 6?
I like it for some aspects, but at the same time, it's like, it was really fucking heavy.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is really fucking heavy. So basically, Bojack goes to rehab because of everything that he's done. And it's pretty, like, half of the season revolves around Bojack just being in rehab and trying to get better. And,
he's trying his best to get better.
Living out their lives, like, outside of rehab. And
Diane ends up getting to a relationship with a new person, and his name happens to be Guy.
Well, yeah, but let's talk about Bojack's rehab first.
Okay, we'll talk about Bojack's rehab. I think you should talk about it because you probably would explain it better than me.
I just want to say how I feel about it.
Well, then go ahead.
Well, it's just Bojack goes to rehab. He he messes somebody's life up in the process because of the fact that he can't let some things go. Bojack wants to help people, but he's narcissistic. That's just his character. He's narcissistic, and he thinks that, like, leaving rehab is going to be the worst thing to ever happen in his life. So he tries to stay there for his own, like, you know, good, or, like, you know, not taking responsibilities and stuff like that. So I don't know. I feel like, you know, I feel like it's one of those things to where, like, I think he's trying to get better, but he's only doing it very, very little at a time. And that's just because he can't let some shit go.
Yeah, he really can't let shit go after this because it's gotten to the point where for Bojack where it's like nothing can really redeem him from this. Like, nothing can really redeem him.
He's not a redeemable character.
He really isn't. But that's what the audience gets to realize.
Even at the end of the show, he's not a redeemable character at all.
Yeah, he really doesn't redeem himself, like, at all. And it's disappointing because it's like, there's, like, plenty of opportunities where he could have just completely changed himself and he just didn't. Mm-hmm. And it's disappointing. That's one other thing that made me kind of, like, just... I didn't really like that much of season 6. Like, the first half, like, a little bit of the first half and a little bit of, like, the last half. The middle of, like, the season was fine. The middle of the season was the only thing I liked about season 6. Mm-hmm. Like, just the middle ground. But, like, after the whole thing with rehab, while Bojack's basically in rehab, we also get to see, like, what people are doing outside rehab. So, like, one thing that happens, just so we can get this out there, Mr. Peanut Butter and I think Pickles ends up just leaving him. Mm-hmm. Like, she ends up going out with another...
She finds another connection with somebody else. Because Mr. Peanut Butter pretty much, like, cheated on him. Mr. Peanut Butter cheated with Diane. Twice in season 5, I believe?
Yeah, twice in season 5.
So...
Pickles got upset.
They were just like, hey, we can, like, you know, you can cheat on me. and like, you know, stuff on that. So we were even. She ends up cheating with someone she really likes, and they end up going away together.
Yeah, so Mr. Peanut Butter shouldn't have done that. And, like, Pickles shouldn't have done that.
Well,
like,
that's just his naivete. That's just his ignorance talking.
So, yeah, she ends up leaving him, and Mr. Peanut Butter's basically by himself for the rest of the season. He's pretty much by himself. So, that's kind of the end of that. And then somehow, I don't know how the fuck this whole thing started, but there was basically a witch hunt with these two random...
It's because Sarah Lynn.
Yeah, these two, like, reporters are trying to, like, figure out why Sarah Lynn died. So this is basically part of the season where people are trying to wonder how the heck Sarah Lynn died, because no one really knows the full story. So two reporters end up going to, like, around the city trying to find out, and then find out how that happened. Then they also find out about the whole thing with Bojack, and I think her name was Penny.
Yeah.
They found out the whole thing about that. But here's the thing. I feel like the Sarah Lynn thing got more justice than that. What do you think? Do you feel like that?
Definitely.
Like, it got more justice.
Yeah,
which is,
definitely.
It's disappointing because, like, this should have got more... Like,
but the thing about it is, I think the fact that Bojack didn't do anything illegally wrong, and...
It was more just, like...
And the fact that Sarah Lynn, like, she was more famous. She got more clout because of her fame. I think Penny, like, we never know if Penny actually did talk to reporters or not.
Yeah, we don't really know.
We never knew. Like, they visit her house, they're like, call us if you have something to say. And they're like, even if she did call them and, like, you know, tell them, I think they just would have just gotten, like, you know, like, they would have, she would have gotten overshadowed anyway, because Sarah Lynn was a pop star. She was a pop star that died over heroin, and Bojack was the one who
initially gave it to her.
Initially, like, you know, let her take it, and she died. She died, and he waited to call the cops.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that like, you know, Sarah Lynn was a worse situation than Penny. I was just saying that in the grand scheme of things, people would more likely pay attention to that than the fact that he almost had sex with a 17-year-old.
Still, it's like I feel like there's something that they should have done for season 6. At least do something about that. At least, like, you know, try and say that she at least tried to get some kind of justice for it. At least something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, like, you know, the reporters were on this witch hunt and stuff like that, and they found out a lot of shit that happened. Meanwhile, Bojack was just trying to get, like, after Rehab, he just decided to just abandon Hollywood in general and become, like, a
teacher.
Acting teacher at college.
He tried to be an acting teacher. But here's another thing that, like, I feel like we kind of missed for one of them. Like, I think this was this still season 6 with Hollyhock?
Yeah.
Okay, so Hollyhock, when she was at a party, spoiler, ends up finding out that Bojack, like, almost had sex with a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
She finds that out at a party. Mm-hmm. They don't really say, like, her reaction to it, but because of that, she doesn't really want to be around Bojack anymore.
Yeah, and it's worse because
he's literally teaching at her college.
Yeah.
So during the course of, like, the whole thing, but you don't really see it to the end of the season, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So I think we should go over, like, the last couple points. But minor thing that happened, Danielle was having writer's block. She tried to write, like, a kid's book.
Well, no, she tried to write about her own life story, her memoir.
Her memoir, and then...
And she couldn't she didn't know how to write it. She didn't know, she thought, oh, I need to be depressed to write my book. And she, gets off her depressant medication and stuff like that. And she just goes on a downward spiral with just writing block and depression in general. And then she was like, and then, I don't know, she, suddenly was writing, this, detective story, this small detective story for, little kids. And she, apparently, she just did not want to write it for the longest time because she was like, I don't want to write this. I want to write about my life. And pretty much Princess Carolyn gives her like the idea, well, maybe you don't want to write about your life. Maybe you just want to write about something else that speaks to other people. Because Diane just wanted to make an impact for other people and help, like, you know, other little girls go through like stuff.
Yeah. So that was something that, like, I feel like was nice in the show. I feel like it gave us a little bit more insight about Diane.
And I actually liked the relationship between her and Guy.
Yeah, I actually really like them too. Like, they are more fitting for each other than her and Peanut Butter. Mm-hmm. Like, Guy at least treats her with respect and, like, all that shit.
Yeah.
He treats her, like, great. And I'm surprised that, like, I wish we could have got the two of them more together before. Like, I feel like we should have got more of, like, their relationship, like, earlier in the seasons.
I were. I just think it was, like, you know, like, the whole, I think it was more based around, I think it was more based around, like, you know, Bojack's recovery, because that's what pretty much takes over the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Bojack's recovery and then eventual fall from grace.
So, yeah, he becomes a teacher for a little bit, and then he ends up getting interviewed.
Okay, you're skipping a lot of stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're skipping a lot of stuff.
Here, you do it. I feel like I keep skipping stuff.
You do keep skipping stuff.
I'm sorry. I just
only wrote, like, you know, next time we do like one of these, we gotta go through every single episode and talk about it.
Yeah, but it's gonna be hard to do that.
Well, we gotta go through every single episode and talk through every single episode and have, like, a discussion over it. Yeah. So, I don't know. Next time we do, like, a show, we gotta do that instead of, like, just writing down cliff notes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Probably.
But now we know for next time.
Yeah, now we know for next time. So, he gets a call. Well, it starts from Hollyhock not wanting to hang out with him anymore because he found out this stuff. Even though he pressures her to hang out with her a lot.
Yeah.
To the point where she quits her rugby college team. And so, like, when he's, like, presenting the acting students for, like, you know, his, what is that called? It's more like what are those acting things called? Like, presentations? Improv presentation?
Yeah.
He, like, gets a call from Charlotte, which made me stop my heart, by the way.
Yeah.
When I saw that.
It really did.
It stopped my heart, because it's the first time that Bojack was, like, after he got out, he didn't have to worry about anything. And now, like, just from that one phone call, everything changed in his life.
Yeah. And
now, all of a sudden, like, that episode where they're, like, in a room discussing about the awful things that Bojack did.
Yeah.
That's, like, amazing, that's an amazing episode.
It really is.
That's an amazing episode. And he pretty much didn't, like, when the reporters called to ask about what happened to Sarah Lynn, he pretty much denied it when he could have fessed up.
Yeah, he should have
because he didn't. Because he was like, I didn't know it was gonna happen this quickly. Like, and sometimes people do that.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes people have that deep reaction to where sometimes they say no to stuff because it happens too quickly to them.
Yeah.
So that happened. And I don't know. I don't know if he got fired or if he resigned from his.
I think he resigned from it. I don't think he got fired
from it. And then the last conversation with Hollyhock that he had.
So yeah,
what do you think about that last conversation?
That, like, fucking broke my heart. I know, like, he was, like, you know, trying to recover and shit, but he was really unredeemable at this point. But it made me so sad. I don't know why. Like, that made me upset. But it was weird. So it was like, I was upset about it.
It made you upset.
It made me upset. But at the same time, it's like, he kind of had it coming at that point.
So after all the stuff about Sarah Lynn comes out, Bojack decides to do an interview.
Yeah. With what was the lady's name?
I don't know. I just call her Wendy.
You just call her Wendy?
Wendy Williams. She reminds me of the better version of Wendy Williams.
She's basically like a chinchilla version of Wendy Williams. We don't remember what her name was.
She's better than Wendy Williams.
Anyway.
But he ends up having an interview with her To where the first interview he did, he was explaining himself really well and professional and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, like, everybody praises Bojack for, like, a day.
For a day.
For a day. Everybody praises Bojack for a day. And, like, in a day, he gets his ego fed, and he wants more of it, so he decides to do a second interview.
Which he shouldn't have fucking done.
He shouldn't have done that. I don't know why. He was already getting deals and stuff. His career was, like, starting to take off again.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. Like, I don't get it. Why did he do a second interview when everything was just all said and done?
That's the thing that pissed me off.
It's because of ratings. That's why they did it. Like, we got to do a second interview because of ratings. And stuff like that. So he ended up doing it.
And then it made this downfall happen.
Well, the reporter came in because she was upset about how the interview went. And, like, now everybody's, like, you know, thinking that Bojack redeemed himself in the public's eyes. So, like, she just comes in and spills down more tea and stuff.
And makes the interviewer,
ask him lots and lots of questions
that were really personal, and like Bojack was just trying to
Bojack was trying to answer them all.
Yeah, and it was a lot for him to take in. I feel like it was a lot for him to take in.
It was a lot for him to take in. He wasn't really prepared for it, but she basically made she did have like a legit argument to make that Bojack treats women very horribly.
Yeah. And that was the only thing I liked about that interview.
Was that, I don't know, it was one of the things where it called out, like, Bojack's BS. And stuff
it called out Bojack's BS. And that was probably the only really good thing about that interview. Oh, Lord.
And it was like, and then the next day, everybody hated Bojack.
Everyone hated him. He was getting milkshakes thrown at him. He was getting, like, a bunch of other shit thrown at him. He tried to do, like, a little, like, acting thing with, like, this one guy he was supposed to be, like, a drunk unicorn, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
Well, he was supposed to horny unicorn, that's what it was called.
Yeah.
With another,
guy that was basically down the drain.
Yeah, pretty much. Vince Wagner? I don't even know if that
it was his name, Vince Wagner.
Is that a play on Charlie Sheen? Or
I don't fucking know.
I don't want to say Roman Polanski.
I don't fucking know.
But I don't know. It was another person who was, like, you know, forgotten by Hollywood society years ago. But
do you remember who Angela was?
Was it Angela? You
have on here Bojack meets with Angela.
Oh yeah, that's the give me 1 second. Okay. So basically, like, he gets canceled.
Yeah, he gets cancel culture.
He gets canceled culture. He gets canceled culture. Like, everybody hates him. To which, I don't know. That's just something where it's so true that everybody wants to get involved in your drama.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I see, like, you know, I see Double Toast talking about this a lot, where everybody wants to get part of your drama, and everybody thinks that, like, they hold up to your standard.
Yeah.
When really, it's just, like, nobody holds up to anybody's standard. We're all in some way oblivion to our own problems, because we think that it's gonna, like, you know, help us make... We all think that we're all, like, you know, good people, and that we all are, like, you know, better in some way.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, it's drama. It's drama that people really love to clamor onto.
Yeah.
A lot and that's, like, when you live in Hollywood, it doesn't, like, make it any much different. So it makes it worse.
Yep.
Especially when you're a celebrity. I have a lot of things to say about cancel culture in general, but we don't have time to go on a whole monologue speech about JC rants about this today. So, basically, because of all this shit, he pretty much the old producer of the network that he was doing Horsing Around on calls him over to her house.
Oh, Angela.
Yeah, and basically says, like, we can sell Bojack Horseman. It just won't be horsing around. It'll just be around. We're going to edit you out of everything. And all you need to do is sign this contract, and you will not be associated with Bojack ever again.
Yeah, so that was...
You won't be associated with that character that he initially got famous for.
Yeah, so that was like...
And he doesn't sign it. He does not sign it. Because his own stubbornness.
Yeah. So that was that whole thing with Angela. It was basically that.
So that leads us to the last 2 episodes of the show.
Let's talk about one more thing.
What is?
Princess Carolyn's little baby.
It's cute. Let's move on.
But yeah, she ends up finally getting the baby. Yeah, she finds out getting the baby. That's all I'm going to say about it.
That's it. Okay.
Last 2 episodes. Final stretch. Final stretch, bitch.
Okay. Before I talk, you have barely talked. What do you have to say about these last 2 episodes?
They were fucking heavy as shit. I was just so pissed off, upset. I had a lot of emotions when watching these episodes. I was pissed off. I was upset. I was just like, what the fuck? Like, these last 2 episodes were so heavy hitting, it's not even funny. Mm-hmm. Like, they were so heavy hitting to where I almost, like, left the room. Like, because it was so, like, just a lot. It was a lot to fucking deal with in 2 episodes. This is probably the most impactful show I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and that's why you should not watch this if you're not in the mental state to do it.
Yeah.
Because if I tried watching these episodes when I was, like, back when I was 17, or whenever I started watching this show, I would have died. Like, I would have not, survived that shit. It would have been too close to home for me. And, the second to last episode,
that one was that was, like, the heaviest episode.
The View from Halfway Down, that was... I never cried. It's hard for me to cry during shows or movies or stuff like that.
Same.
When I first saw that, and I first saw it without you, that made me choke up. Like, the last scene of that episode, the last 2 minutes of that episode made me... Nothing in that nothing else in BoJack made me cry. That was the first scene that I ever did, that ever made me... upset because that scene really hit too close to home for me. Like, that scene, I could feel some type of connection toward that scene because not in some way, but I had experienced that feeling before. Like, in that scene played out almost exactly how it did in my head. From a time to where me personally, but I'll get into that story a different day. But that played out way too close for me in my head, and I was there, and I was like, I choked up, and I started to cry at the end of that scene because that was just, for what BoJack had to face and stuff like that, it's terrifying. It is really terrifying. And the people in his life that he failed, abandoned, all of that stuff, and the people that he saw that impacted his life, that was depressing as fuck.
It really was. But after this whole episode, are we good talking about that, or before we talk about the very last?
Do you have anything to say about the second to last episode anymore?
I just thought it was really heavy. I don't really have any words for it. I was just more upset. Is this really the last episode? You told me it was the last episode. So I was like, you originally told me it was the last episode. And I'm like, ugh. I was just so mad.
I know. What if it ended right there?
If it ended right there, I would have been so mad. I would have been so mad.
Actually, I thought it would have been fitting.
It would have been fitting, but at the same time, it's
it would have been fitting.
It just was sad. But
Because it totally made sense.
It did, but...
It totally made sense to how he got to that point and how he got to that place.
Yeah, but like basically to sum up, I guess, what happens at the end of this. This is a very major...
Bojack almost dies by
drowning
in his own pool.
So, like, he ends up, like, taking a bunch of pills, and he ends up drowning in his pool. Mm. Because, well, technically it's not his house anymore.
It's not his house, it's Adult's house.
It's someone else's house at that point.
Yeah.
So he ends up dying in someone's pool.
Yeah.
Technically his former house.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the very last episode was intense as well, but not as intense as...
It's a conclusion.
It's the conclusion of the series.
Bojack survives.
He survives the drowning and overdose, and he ends up getting revived, and he ends up going to jail for everything. So he's stuck in jail.
Well, not jail for everything. He goes to jail because he trespassed.
Yeah, he trespassed on property.
And also
lawsuit with Sarah Lynn's family. So he ends up going to jail for that. So after that whole thing, he does get out of jail for like one night, and that was to celebrate Princess Carolyn and Judah's wedding.
Second wedding. Because he wasn't invited to the private wedding.
But this was the thing that like surprised me. I never knew in the entire series that Judah liked Princess Carolyn like that. You never know about this till the end of the fucking series. Right?
I think, well, because Judah was the one, like, you know, Judah was like, you know, what you call those? A secretariat?
An assistant.
Not secretariat.
Assistant
to Princess Carolyn.
For like
when she started her company.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it was like a partner friendship, and then it got like, you know, and turned into something a lot more than that. But like,
I liked it. I wish we could have more of that.
I liked it too. And then
I wish they would have hinted more of that, like, in the series.
Well, Bojack gets out for a day. He sees so it goes like this. Mr. Peanut Butter, like, picks him up, and then he goes to the party, and then Todd, like, you know, talks with him and stuff like that. And then Princess Carolyn like, you know, they dance together and stuff like that. And then the last person he talks to is Diane.
And Diane got thick. She got thick.
Well, she was thick.
But it's a good...
She was thick throughout the whole... The
last couple seasons.
She was thick in the season 6.
Yeah, but I
because of her depression.
I know, but like... I feel like she's changed.
Well, she got older. That's the problem. She got a lot too. Older. She got a lot older. She got married to Guy. And, like, you know, the last conversations that he has with these people, I feel like...
made the series a lot better at the end.
It made it a lot better. It had its own conclusions to people's lives and stuff like that. And how they're going and how it's going to be. Because, like, you know, I think Bojack will know these people. I just don't think he'll have a relationship with these people anymore.
Yeah, he's just going to be in jail.
Well, he's going to be in jail until he gets out in another 3 months, I believe.
Yeah. And
then he's going to go on I think he's going to go on a separate way. Oh, shit, we didn't talk about the hollyhock thing.
Okay, pause that. We'll talk about the last bit of the series in a minute. But basically, after the whole thing happened, Hollyhock sends Bojack a message through a letter saying that, well, we don't really know what she says. But we never know what she says, but basically what we think is like, I don't want anything to do with you anymore.
Yeah, Bojack pretty much gets disowned by his
own sibling.
Yeah,
and that happened. It made him really depressed
and that's why he took the pills.
Yeah, that's what made him start taking it.
That's the last person that he thought somebody cared about him, and it turns out that, like, you know, no association at all. And that's what made him start to drink, to take pills, and that's what made him decide to almost commit suicide.
Yeah. But anyway, after that was like before we talked about the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But
also another heart-stopping moment.
That made me like so upset. Like, that just made me upset.
But at the same time,
I feel he had it coming.
You get it.
Yeah, like he had it coming.
You get it.
Anyway, after that whole talk with Diane, that's basically the end of the series. That's the end of BoJack. So that whole thing to me was like...
What'd you think of the whole series as a whole?
The series as a whole, I thought it was a great series. I actually liked it. I liked watching it. I wanted to see more of it. I'm glad
probably not going to be more. I don't want there to be more.
I don't either, but like...
I didn't want more because at season 5 I was like, I think this should end. And then like when they announced season 6 was going to be the last season, I was like, cool. They need to end. I don't want to feel depressed anymore. But I feel like this show grew with me. Throughout times that I wasn't fit to watch this show, and then it grew with me as I got better.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you just think about, like, the stuff in life that you perceive that you think you're doing right, but you're actually...
Not doing right.
Well, not doing right, but you're not in a well-prepared state to handle it.
Yeah.
So, it grew with me on that part. What would you rate it, like, 1 out of 10? Like, the whole thing?
Well, for me, I actually liked how they did this series. I feel like there's some things that I feel like could have been changed, but that's probably a whole nother video in itself. Because this video is already going on long enough. But if I had to, like, rate this out of 10, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Because there's some things I could have fixed with it, but...
Would you ever watch it again?
Probably not the entire series again, but I'd probably watch, like, bits and pieces of it again.
Yeah.
Like...
Well, for me, I already watched it twice.
You watched it twice! You a trooper. You watched it twice.
Well, this is, like... one of my new favorite shows.
Yeah.
Like, I would not be watching this over and over again if it wasn't one of my favorite shows.
That's true.
So that's why I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. The rare 10 out of 10 that I never give to anything except for my shows. My favorite shows / movies / anything in between. So...
That's crazy you actually give this a 10 out of 10.
I like it that much. It grew up with me. I think it's because, like, when you have something grow up with you... And, like, you know about it for a long time. And, like, most of it, if not all of it's been, like, fantastic.
Yeah.
And then, like, it ends on, like, a really, really good note. Like, if this ended on a really, really bad note, if the writing somehow went downhill and stuff like that. It did several times. It got a little bit pretentious sometimes. But... that was mostly from characters that, like, were narcissistic and they were pretentious in their own words and stuff like that. Like, nobody ever got pretentious that it wasn't in their character.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those rare occurrences where I grew up with it. I have a lot of emotions going on for this. I will be seeing this again in the future. Because, like, it has those scenes that are so good in drama, but it also has those, like... great comedy pieces and stuff like that also, that it's not like a whole like depressing fest. Yeah. Like, you actually get those bits of comedy in there that's, like, really good for a satire. So I would give this like a 10 out of 10. I think the only other show that I gave like a 10 out The only other show that I give like a 10 out of 10 is I think the only show that I would give a 10 out of 10 is like Breaking Bad. That's the only other show that I
So the only 2 shows you'd probably have 10 out of 10 of is Breaking Bad and this.
Yes, but you haven't seen Breaking Bad.
Eventually I will see it.
Eventually, sometime this year, before it's taken off Netflix, you will see Breaking Bad.
Yeah, so that's eventually going to be an episode we are going to do.
Yes. I think the next episode we should do is, because we're going to watch these 2 movies right after we do the podcast. So I think the next episode is going to be about the Trolls movies.
So there's only 2, so be on the lookout for us reviewing the Trolls movies.
God, we've been talking for more than an hour.
So yeah, that's basically the end of BoJack. If you guys haven't seen the first 2 episodes of the podcast, I recommend going to check those out.
What would you recommend for, like, just someone who wants to watch BoJack?
Okay. I recommend, if you're going to watch this series, you have to like nitty-gritty shit. You have to be able...
No, like an episode. Just pick an episode.
I think my favorite episode to recommend would probably be something from season 4, like the Hollyhock episode, like the first Hollyhock episode, like where you find out about her. I feel like that's an episode I would recommend.
The episode I would recommend,
please don't say the last one, because that's
no, not the last one. That's the one. Probably I gotta go back and look at my episodes. Probably
I keep burping, man.
Yeah, you keep on burping. Probably I would pick I would actually pick I would pick the old sugar milk place.
Okay.
I would pick that episode.
That's cool.
So I guess if you ever want to just start on BoJack, that's a good, I guess,
episode.
starter.
Just like at least like look at
it and see if you want to watch the rest of it. But that's your guys' opinion. Let us know what you think of BoJack. I accidentally got into this voice. Let me know what you thought of BoJack in the comment section below.
So yeah, like if you want to check out the other 2 episodes we did, we'll link them in the description.
It'll be on a playlist.
And it'll be on a playlist for this stuff. But thank you guys for watching this. This was probably the longest podcast we're going to be doing.
Now we're going to go look at singing trolls because goddamn we need something to lighten this up.
Yeah, we need to lighten this up. So I'm Maui.
This is JC.
And we are out.